do you want? Okay, we can start. Okay. Welcome, everyone. And I hope you enjoyed the courses. As you know, I'm Edmondo Grassi. I'm in everyday life. I'm a researcher. I'm a professor in sociology and philosophy. So during the course, I try to share with you all my knowledge and my experience about the connection between sports, sociology, and the management of an event. First of all, I would like to ask, Irene wrote in the chat that she's working and it's okay, but I would like to ask to Federica and Hilla if they can turn on the camera. I like talking, I like speaking with people, not to Black Mirrors. You know, it's not like the serial in TV is a meeting.
I'm sorry, but I'm traveling, so I cannot switch on the webcam.
Okay, thank you. And Hilla is in a public spot. Okay, so Irene, Federica, and Hilla, I hope you can listen our sharing in this afternoon. And I would like to say that for me, this is a meeting, and I hope that you can express your critics, your questions, your ideas about the courses, about the major subjects of the course, and something that you are interested in. As I said, we are here to explore the relation between sports, sociology, and sport events. And the point is how social and cultural dynamics are connected, are linked, and influence the world of sports. As I said before in the other class, in this moment, we are from different countries. We are from Finland, from Italy, from Estonia, and I don't know where is from Nina. So we are sharing different culture, different kind of society, and our everyday life, our background is different from each other. So it's very important from our point of view to focalize the connection and the importance of these points. So first of all, I would like to ask you if you have any questions about the course or about the subjects and so on. At the same time, critics, for example, or about the materials, the articles, the movies, and so on. Or maybe if I have to speak so we can break the ice, okay, maybe I will continue. So during this meeting, this huge resume, this summary of our course, maybe you will think about what you learned or what you experienced in everyday life. So throughout the previous lessons, we have examined various key concepts, various subjects, such as socialization in sports or inequalities in sports or in sport contexts. At the same time, the role of sports institution, for example, because it's very important to have the capacity to understand how institutions decided to connect with sports, and the connection between sports and social identity. Because I think that the point social identity is our main subject, our key point. But we know that to create, because we know that to create a sport event, it is necessary to understand the relationships between society and sport. So society is made up by culture, and culture is made up by moral issues, ethic point of view, and for example, by religion, by gender, by ethnicity, and so on. So it's very important from our perspective, because maybe one day or nowadays you are trainers, you have to understand that it's very important to study, to understand, we have to understand the need to study the interaction, the values, the norms, the rights, and the social process that occur within sporting activities. And at the same time, it's very important from my point of view as a researcher in sociology and sports, that if we study the social identity in sports, we can gain a better understanding of, for example, power structures, inequalities, gender dynamics, social identity, and many others aspects that characterize the world of sports in everyday life. Because we have to think that as trainers, for you, sports will be your everyday life, and will be something that in which you don't have just to train athletes that has to win, that has to be the strongest, that has to be the bravest, and so on. Your point, your main task is to educate, to form, to share with your athletes your behavior, your moral issues, your ethic point of view. It's a double work, because it's not only training, but it's educate people, it's educate your team, your athletes. So it's very important for you to focalize the attention to the social identity of your athletes or your team. So we, during the 3 lessons in the first 2, we explored fundamental concepts such as socializing in sports, the role of sports institution, the influence of groups, and at the same time the dynamics that occurs inside the groups. And at the same time, additionally, we have reflected on the challenges and opportunities that arise in the sport context, such as, for example, accessibility, inclusion, and equality. I would like to ask you if in your experience, in your everyday life as person or as trainer, did you experience some kind of inequality, for example, gender inequality, ethnic inequality, or difficult about accessibility, or difficult about inclusion, and so on? Did you experience something about that? I don't know, maybe working with people with disability or people from a different culture? Yes, Essie, yeah. It's right.
I'm a nurse, so I work with people with disability almost every day. Well, not at the moment, but before like 7 years. Okay. So I have seen lots of that, like really much. The way the like normal people are talking to disability people and everyone, it's just, I don't get it. Like they are people, you can talk to them like normally.
Yeah.
So why do you have to, like when I'm helping someone with wheelchair, they are talking to me. Like, why do you talk to me? Talk to her or him or the person in the wheelchair. So it's not me you need to talk to, it's her. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing, Oma. Thank you for your sharing, because your point of view help us to understand how we are ruled by stereotypes, by models, and these kind of stereotypes a lot of times are very bad, are not so good as we think, because as you said, why I have to talk with you and not with the person on the wheelchair? What is the obstacles or the barriers? Why we decide to change, for example, our tone of voice or the way we decide to modulate our voice? So it's very important for us, and I hope that the course help you all to understand that we have to deconstruct, to transform our way of think, our perspective of everyday life, because we have to deconstruct the stereotypes of our culture. So thank you, Essie, for your experience, because this one is amazing. For example, in the sports too, something like that can happen. Sometimes, for example, in the other lesson, in the other course, one of your colleagues told us that, for example, one day she was watching a football match by Paralympics, if I remember correctly, and at one point she remembered that she thought, oh my God, they can do this, and for her was like a epiphany, because she understood that that kind of thinking, that kind of thoughts was wrong, because we are the same. Maybe we decide to live everyday life in different kind of way. But for example, in this moment, if I talk about myself, I'm sure that I live differently than Jesse, Anna, Essie, and so on, because every one of us has a specific social identity. We have to understand that we have moral issues or ethical issues that are the same, because, you know, we need some kind of moral rules. But we have to understand that we have to fight against prejudices, because, for example, we have prejudices about gender, about ethnicity, about class. It's important to understand, for example, the economic issue. From this point, we can understand that it's very important that to create and to manage a sport event is important to understand who we are and who are the people that will participate to our sport event. So thank you, Essie, for your experience. And if every one of you wants to talk, just raise your hand or take words and share your experience, share your everyday life. So as I say, to create an event, it's very important to understand this kind of relations, to understand the social dynamics. And I think that, for example, we can resume, we can just say that we have 4 or 5 key points, key elements that connect sports and human relations, human relation in sports. For example, the first one is about socialization in sport. We learned how sports play a significant role in the socialization of participants, influencing the formation of individual and group identities. Because, you know, when you take part of an event or you play in an event, the social values, the social norms are learned and then are transferred through the sport experience. So the first point is about socialization in sports. The second one is about the institutions. So sport institution and the connection, the relation with power. because, you know, every kind of society, every kind of culture, unfortunately, unlikely is ruled by relations focused on power. So the point is to understand how this involves the role of a sport institution, for example, as a club or a league or a federation. There could be different kind of institution, and we have to analyze how power dynamics that occur inside this kind of institution, and sometimes they can influence sports and sport events. We also explored the influence of policies and decisions made by sports institution on sport practice and participation. So we can understand how power inside this kind of institution can influence the way in which we will practice or we will participate in a sport event or in a management of sport events. So the second point is about sports institution and the connection with power. The third one is about inequalities. As I said, we have examined the social and the political and the economic inequalities that can emerge in sports events and in the management of sports events, and they are related. They are linked to access to sport opportunities and facilities and resources. For example, we enlightened the issues about gender, ethnicity, religion, abilities, and class inequalities present in sport context. And how they impact in the individual participation, because we have to understand that sometimes if we are in a team, we are at the same time a unique person. Every one of us has particular necessity, needing particular abilities, and we have to think to the team as a body, and every part of the team, so every player, has his own role, has his own main ability, their strongest point, at the same time their weakness. So everyone has to harmonizing inside the team. So it's very important for a trainer to understand which kind of inequalities every single athlete is living or is perceiving. So it's very important. The fourth point is about, and the main point is a social and social identity, because we said all of that, and all of that is connecting with how sports contribute to the formation of the person, and at the same time the expression of social identity, because between sports we can fight bullying, we can fight exclusion, we can find inequalities. During the first two lessons and then the last one, in which we give you all the rule or the norms to create an event, we analyze the different identities that emerge through sports involvements, such as gender, national identity, and belonging to a specific social group. So we can say in the end, as the fifth key element, that sociology and sports are very important to understand in deepest way, sorry, that understanding of them, because we can understand the complex interactions between sport and society. We need to use sociology, and we need to use sociology of sport to understand all the dynamics that occurs inside our theme, our school, our place of work, and so on. So it's important, in conclusion, that we have to reflect about the social phenomena that is sports and the values, the norms, the inequalities, and the power dynamics that we live in everyday life. So this could be, we can say that this could be a summary of our course. But I would like to ask you, as I said before, if you want to talk about your experience about inequality, it could be about gender, about different kind of ability, about different kind of cultures, because in the first hour with the other group, we shared a lot of personal experience. And don't be shy, because I'm not your professor. I'm not here to give you marks. I'm just like you, and I would like to hear you because I think that we can learn in every moment from each other. So it's very important to share our daily life experience. I don't know, maybe if any of you is nowadays a trainer, train a team, an athlete, or something like that. Did you experience, or in your career, maybe as athlete, of inequality, gender inequality, for example?
Okay, I will go. Since
okay, hi, Gabriela.
Is very quiet, so I'll just go ahead.
Thank you.
Hi, so my name is Gabriela. Yeah, I would say I have definitely seen a lot of inequalities, especially when it comes to soccer, I would say. Like, for example, by being a woman, like depending from country to country, you're more or less included. So like, I don't know, like sometimes guys would not even let you play. You know, like they don't even consider you as a possible team member based on your gender. I don't know, other things. I mean, I've played soccer in the US and Mexico, but for example, in Italy, it's been hard. Like even as like casual soccer matches, it's like as soon as you show up, it's like, oh, well, we're mostly guys, so we don't know if you can actually play or not, you know, like these type of things. And actually, we're talking about this in my own group here in this course. And it was nice to like have, you know, that discussion with them about like even like the way like flyers are made, like how it's not specific for what gender or anything. And part of the group was like, well, it's not necessary because soccer doesn't need to be gender based, you know, but for a woman, if you see something that is related to like, well, this is open for women, it becomes a more welcoming environment. So yeah, so like these things, I've absolutely have seen them, I would say. With soccer is like one of those sports, I would say, where it's very obvious.
Thank you, Gabriela. And I think that from your point of view, you share with us a very interesting point of view, because, for example, I'm from Italy, and I know that in soccer, it's very hard for a woman to gain recognition and to share with a male partner the same field. For example, I remember at the beach, if you are at the sea and you want to play with guys, sometimes guys look at the woman as, come on, you are not stronger like us, or you cannot be good like us. So, you know, this experience, and thank you to Gabriela, we have to understand that gender issues, it's very important to us to understand how stereotypes are infected our point of view. Because, for example, I'm sure that Gabriela is better than me in soccer, because I cannot play in any way at soccer. So for a lot of people, if they just look at us, they could think, oh, no, come on, Edmondo, she's a male, so it's better. So thank you, Gabriela. And this point is exclusion because of gender. So every time that you train your athletes, you have to teach them that sometimes they live in thanks to privileges, because sometimes be a male, be white, be rich, could be a privilege. And we have to understand that we have to deconstruct, we have to disrupt this kind of vision, because we have to validate people just because of what they are in everyday life, about their values, their norms, their ethics. So I think that the story of Gabriella, the biography, the short biography of Gabriella for us is a great lesson. And as, for example, the one of Essie is about the ability of people and the way we feel this ability or the gender issues. Every one of you want to say something more about this kind of issues, subjects, or if you want, we can change subject and talk about anything you want connected with the course and connected with these themes. Yes, Essie, yes.
I noticed that because I'm like larger woman and I have height, so it's easier for me to like connect with guys. So I'm like, if here in Finland it's typical to say, guys come help with the chairs or something like that. But I'm like, I can help that too, so I'm just going there. So I'm just like, I don't like, I'm clicking my ears out, so I don't hear the guys. I'm just like, come here to help with the chairs. So I'm just going. So maybe that's not my point, but like my point is that it's easier to speak out. Like, don't assume anything. If you ask, can I come to help with the chairs? Usually you can. Well, can I come somewhere? Usually you can. It's not always, but when you assume that someone is better or worse than you, it usually doesn't like it's to create a space to feel welcomed either side.
Yeah, it's very important what you said about the create a safe space, because you all as trainers, and for example me as a professor, I have to create a safe space during my lessons, and maybe you during your training, because it's very important to understand that in this case, the centrality of sports in social cultural dynamics lies in its perspective of social inclusion, because you are working for this. You are not working to create the next Muhammad Ali or the next champion of soccer of the world and so on. You are working to share with your athletes, with your team, a social perspective about social inclusion. So according to me, the creation of a safe space, it's the most important thing. So great essay for this this point, this key point. And because, for example, talking about different kind of abilities, we have to think that sometimes the majority of times we created architectures, infrastructural places with barriers to access. So it's very difficult for a lot of people to enter in a place, to enter in a building, or just as athlete or as public people. So it's very hard to disrupt these stereotypes, but it's the main point of your work. And we have the task to exploring the challenges many people face in everyday life, face in participating in sports, such as a lack of experience, a lack of physical abilities, a lack of financial resources. So the point is that we have to discuss in everyday life with our team about strategies and initiatives that can implement to overcome the barriers, the obstacles, and so on. And the point is that we have to we have to share more awareness of inclusion, because this is the point. With more awareness of what equality and what inclusion means, we can create better places, safer places, and safer people, good people. So thank you again, Essi, for this point of view. Anyone else want to share their experience, your thoughts, your ideas, your perspective? Just, for example, what you felt studying these lessons. If you learned something new, if you had time to understand about, because I know that there are a lot of topics inside 3 lessons, and we had time to develop, to analyze, to explore every one of them. But if you want, we have time, we have 20 minutes, so we can continue to talk, sharing your experience, because I think that according to your personal experiences, we can understand better what we learned and what we are learning, because in this moment, we're learning something new through Essi, to Gabriella, and to your experience, if you want to share.
Well, I have one experience when I was actually living abroad, and then I was in a sports team, but I didn't speak the local language. Of course, all of the team members spoke English, but every time there was a little bit more difficult situation, some people were not agreeing or something, the language always got swapped to the local language.
Mm-hmm.
And then if there are tough situations, I was always left out from those situations in a way, because they could decide which language they use. So that's my experience.
Yeah, thank you, Hilla, because for example, here we are, because of different languages, sometimes we can experience exclusion. So it's very important to understand that when we are training a team or we are training a single athlete, we have to think that sport as a tool of social cohesion, because Hilla said in my teams everyone speaks English, but when I'm outside with them or in everyday life, sometimes they forget about that, and I feel like excluded in some kind of situation. So your task is to think to sport as a tool for social cohesion. And we can say that by examining how sports can promote social cohesion and a sense of belonging within communities, because this is another point. Sports can create a community, can create a group of relations that are not only connected during the time of playing, but they are connected outside that time. They are connected in every time of life. So we can create a lot of kind of relations. And another point is that we have to think that it's important to understand that exists a lot of kind of relation, and we don't have to think in every time like section, because every field of daily life, work, study, free time, sports, and so on, they are connected, because we are the same person, and at the same time we change in every moment, because this is the particular of the human being. Every time we feel, we live a new experience, we change. So it's very important for a trainer understand how this kind of relations can impact to the team or to the athlete. So the point is we can create a huge community through sports. So we are discussing about events, sport events, tournaments, and championships that bring people together. Because we have to think that when we create, for example, a tournament or a sport events, we are connected. A lot of people that they are different from culture, they are different from social and cultural and class belonging. And the point is to put them together and foster solidarity among different segments of society. Because, you know, the point is that society is made up of segments, and the point is we have to link every single segment to the other one, and we have to find how. And it's the most difficult point, the most difficult task for us, for trainers, for teachers, for nurses, for doctors, and so on. But the point is, we need to create belonging, we need to create community, we need to share through sports norms and social values that can put us together. So we can say that sports in general can explore the role. We can explore the role of sports teams as agents of social cohesion and inclusion through collaboration and building positive relations. So the point is we need to promote sports as inclusive sports culture. Do you have any other kind of experience that you want to share?
Yeah. Hey.
Hi, Margot.
Hey. I'd like to reflect on the part about the respect and discipline in sports and how it can reflect in social setting later on as well. For example, I'm studying and also teaching karate, the martial art. And an important part of it is being polite towards the opponent or the friend you're learning with. And it's so interesting to see that when children come to the training, then initially, especially when they're 7-8-year-olds, they're really full of energy and often maybe not the calmest setting in a training room. And after they have studied martial arts for a few years, you can see how this kind of politeness and being in this disciplined setting helps them better to study the martial art, but also in school and in other relationship with friends. And I think it's so interesting to actually see how the sports setting affects so much the general life in society of the child or as well adults.
Yeah, great. You know, but because the point is, for example, in karate, but in other kind of sports, we have discipline, and discipline is very important because the importance is in promoting acceptance, respect, equity, kindness, and help each other. Because, you know, maybe when we think to martial arts, it's easier for us to understand that martial arts are connected with discipline and with moral values. But the point is, for example, we can take from martial arts a lot of point of promotion of promoting in sports and put them in other sports. For example, we can take the kindness and equality that Margot experienced. She is experiencing in everyday life teaching karate, and we can put them, for example, in soccer or in basketball and so on. So the point is sharing values and experience that can occur in a specific sports, and we can put them in another one. So it's like a contamination, but a good one, something that can be better for every one of us, because as Margot said, we want to fight, for example, bullying and discrimination in sports. because I think that she's not just a karate teacher, but she is sharing their perspective of life, of values, of ethics with the students in during the training. So thank you a lot for this experience of your work and your person in karate and the sports, because I think that in this way, through concrete examples or personal experiences, or for example, the case study that I decided to share with you during the course, we demonstrate in every moment how sports can be a powerful tool to promote social inclusion. And the sports can break down barriers, they can build the bridges, and they can create an environment of equity and at the same time diversity, because the point is that diversity is the major point of growing, because everyone is different from each other, and we have to learn. We can learn every day from other experience. So we can say that sports in general have the potentiality to create a significant impact on everyday life, on social identity, and about social inclusion and promoting a sense of belonging. Because, as I said, community is maybe the most important point when you have to create a sport event, because you have to manage a lot of cultures, a lot of identities, and you have to pay attention to every single part of the management of the event. Do you have any other kind of questions or experience that you want to share? Because through Margot, Essie, and Gabriella, we learned something new. We shared, and Hilla, at the same time, we share something very interesting. Because, for example, through Hilla, sometimes I don't think to languages, but Hilla remember me that language is a huge barrier, can be a huge barrier, because sometimes we put language in the culture sphere.
Yeah, I wanted to add something related to the language barrier as well. Like, for example, when a coach is not clear, right? Like maybe there's not like the right indication, like towards, maybe you cannot say it in the person's language, like what exactly you're talking about. Maybe you're trying to signal at an object, and then it's not so clear to the person that doesn't speak that language, right? So then you have to like just point at the thing or whatever. So these are like some of like the first degree, let's say, of barrier, right? Like the physical encounter. But then I also noticed like some, like, like sexual harassment, like how do you do that? How do you deal with it when there's like the language barrier plus like, like being, I don't know, like a minority in the group or something like that? It becomes very hard, because then how do you reach out for someone else, who can understand you? And so like I was also reflecting on what she mentioned of like language and cultural barriers are also like a lot more difficult.
Thank you, Gabriella. You focus the attention on a very important and delicate point, because sometimes we don't have any kind of weapon to ask help, because sometimes we live situations in which we are bounded and we are obstacled by language or about culture. And in that moment, we need the help maybe of the trainer, of a colleague, of a team member, because fighting against something bigger than us, because sometimes a lot of times happen this kind of experience, and it's very hard to ask help in our own language. So imagine if we have to use another language. We have to explain what happened in another language and in another culture. So this is another point of reflection that thanks to Gabriella, we can decided to share. You know, we have just this lesson, this meeting, and but if you want, you can write to my email, and we can share a lot about this, because I'm a researcher, so I work on research projects at university, so we can talk and we can study, we can learn, we can teach each other a lot of things. So you can write me in every moment about this. During the course, I tried to share with you some articles and, for example, some movies. You know, I give you a list of movies that you can watch, and then after the movies, you can create, for example, a discussion with your friends, with your family, with your partners, or maybe you can write to me, and we can create a moment of interaction and of sharing about the values and the main themes of movies, articles, and so on. So if you want to add something else, I'm here for you. We are here to listen each other, or maybe I think that we can say goodbye or see you soon. I don't know if you want to add something else. Okay, maybe I talked a lot, you are tired, and you want to do other things during this afternoon. So thank you for your attention. Thank you for being here. And most of all, thank you for sharing your experience, because I learned from you something new, or I add something new to my knowledge, to my experience. So thank you to you all, and hope to hear you soon. Have a nice afternoon.
Thank you.
And bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you a lot, and bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.